I think we are ready now. It is my privilege to welcome my predecessor, the founding director of the Institute, who introduce himself and his work, otherwise himself. So please welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, welcome to this launching of our recent publication, Communities in Transition, the Circum-Aegean area during the 5th and 4th millennium, you can see here. Actually, the term recent might be slightly ill-placed. The book was announced and available already in February, spring, more than half a year ago. Fanis Mavridis and I regret that our co-director, co-editor, colleagues Žarko, Tankosić, and Turan, Takaoğlu have not been able to participate in our launching today. Nevertheless, it's nice to see so many people, not so many, we could have wished some more people interested for this topic, which is a rather dull topic and not very well understood in our common Greek and European past. First of all, when talking about the later part of the chronological frame, the long 4th millennium, as it has been termed. The conference in 2013 and the succeeding publication were generally sponsored by INSTAF, Danish Council, the Research Council for the Humanities, the Institute of Cross-Cultural and Regional Studies, University of Copenhagen, Consul General of the Impulse Foundation, and last but not least, the Danish Institute at Athens, with succeeding directors patiently supporting the project to the happy end. We are most grateful to all of them. Those of you who have experienced to accomplish conferences and succeeding publications know that it is hard to get around all the challenges. But I am sure that my fellow editors, Fanis, Žarko and Turan, will agree that this process, for it has been a long process, from idea to final book, has been even more demanding and long-term than you would usually expect. The idea was created originally by Fanis, Žarko and Turan, discussing the many new fieldworks and results from Western Anatolia, creating new important data for the understanding of the Neolithic Catholicism in the Aegean area. When I was invited to participate in the project in, say, something like 2011, I think it was, it's a long time ago, the term Circum-Aegean was already created, and the project concentrating on the lost millennium, 4,500 to around 3,300. A longer discussion concerned the general approach. Should the presentation reflect theoretical scholarly attitude or a more classical taxonomy? The last version finally prevailed in order to avoid sectarianism, I think. The decision, however, with most decisive consequences was for the whole project, was this decision to include the 5th millennium in the announcement, strongly advocated by Turan, arguing that the 4th millennium could not be understood without the 5th millennium background. Except for Western Anatolia, northern Greece, including Thessaly, especially for Western Anatolia, also northern Greece, including Thessaly, could, for instance, only be understood towards the Balkan backroads. In this way, the Circum-Aegean area extended northwards to include the East Balkan countries until the Caucasus. So this was a little bit more than Circum-Aegean, I would say. As will hopefully appear from the publication, this widening perspective showed up to be meaningful, important, and increased considerably the applicability, its special flavor, so to say. As time passed by, the publication more and more looked like a manual, a general reference work for the Catholicity of Southeastern Europe, and we appreciated that. It was decided to make an open call for the conference despite the increased trouble, unpredictabilities and delays with increased censorship, peer reviews and administration this decision might cost. In spite of the considerable delay of the process, I think it was the right decision. Slightly less than 100 contributions, lectures and posters were presented at the conference, of which 57 have been published in this volume we can see here. It is also a special pleasure to welcome Lasse Sørensen, now research director of the National Museum in Copenhagen, but in the mid-90s, together with Fanis and Mavridis, we were very close and competent colleagues during our explorations in Tankosić, on the Ethiopian coastland. The area we now call Tankosić. So now I will not give a word to Lasse first, but to Fanis. Fanis will.
Just a bit.
Yes. You will say something.
Just a brief note on the occasion. I would like, first of all, to thank you all for being here, present in the presentation of our communities volume. First of all, let me give the greetings of our co-editor Žarko and Turan, who put an attempt to this gathering. I would like to underline how satisfied we are with the final outcome of this project, which is a volume of over 600 pages. It was a long and difficult way from the organization of the conference with 130 participants down to the publication of over 50 papers that were selected to be included in this volume. With today's event, another long-term project is successfully terminated. As an archaeologist of the Greek Ministry of Culture and Sports, I will take today's opportunity to make reference to the overall cooperation I have all these years, from about the middle 90s, if I'm right, Søren, with the Danish Institute and more recently with the Norwegian Institute. The director of the Danish Institute is here. As an example of an excellent cooperation that has given results like this book. Very interesting field projects and many more. I hope that we will continue in the future, since everybody realizes that successful work can be accomplished only with joint efforts and cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this book launch. Thank you, Søren, and thank you, Christina, and thank you, Fanis, and the other editors, Žarko and Turan. I've also met them on my many travels around Greece, Turkey, but also in Southeastern Europe. So I was happy that Søren asked me to make a small presentation of the book. When the conference was in 2013, I was also invited, but I didn't have time. I was writing up my own thesis, so time was of an essence there. But now I've returned to some of the Aegean stuff, and I'm glad to be here to talk to you about this book. And you can see it, it's over here. Just show it to you. Here. So pretty massive, I would say. And how does this look? So it's heavy as brick. come to that. Does it work? Okay, great. So, yeah, a break of knowledge, I would say. You can have a look at the numbers. Yeah, it's almost 3 kilos. So when sending it around, it also costs a fortune. Like the price of the book, actually. Yeah, a lot of knowledge. Over 600 pages. And 87 contributors. All about the subject here. 52 papers. And based on the conference in 2013. So all connected to the communities in transition in the 5th and 4th millennium. So just by looking at the scale, you would know that this is the real deal, if you're interested in this theme. So I'll just start by adding something to the chronological focus, because what we are dealing with here is a transition from the Stone Age, the Neolithic, to the Bronze Age. And in this transition there's consensus about the Neolithic, and calling that the Neolithic, and the Bronze Age the Bronze Age. But this transition here has a lot of different terminology, and there's no consensus about that. And you can see that in the book. And you also, the editors also write at the end that there's no consensus. The consensus is this: later Neolithic stages. But just going through it, the Final Neolithic is used, the Chalcolithic is used, the Eneolithic is used, late Neolithic 2 is used, Copper Age, Proto-Early Bronze Age is also used. So it kind of narrows it down to almost everything, the later Neolithic stages. And that's also to do with the history of research and where the researchers are situated in the geographically term. So there's no consensus there, and you can also see it here in the chronological table by, I think that was Coleman in the book, where you can see, okay, even in the Aegean, there's different terminology: Chalcolithic, Final Neolithic, late Neolithic, and then when you go to the Balkans, there's even different kinds of terminology. So it's something to do with the research, and maybe in the future somebody might be able to nail it, to say what it is, what we should call it. If you look at the geographical scale, that might also indicate why the terminology is so diverse, because it's actually quite a huge geographical coverage of this theme. You can see all of southeastern Europe is there, all the Aegean, and then the western Anatolia, and even the Cyprus area is in it as well. So just by looking at this map, you would know that they've been very thorough in getting all the data together, all the sites together, and also all the researchers working on this theme. And what they realized was that this was necessary, because before this book was there, it was like individual researchers sometimes making a monograph or a compiling of articles, but not a real compiling of the data set, because what they realized was that it's actually the same problems they're working with. It's the same transitions they're working with in the different regions. So there are some overall patterns that you can recognize again and again. So by looking at it in a broader scale, they might be enabled to get an overview of this. And this is what the book does, gives an overview. And here you can see all the sites, and just by looking at them, there's several classics, so you know that they have the right sites, the right data sets available in this book as well. What about these communities? What are we dealing with here? Why are they so interesting? Why is it such an interesting theme? Well, what we're seeing is tell sites. And you see that in the 5th millennium there, people are living on these tell sites. And then when this transition begins, during the late 5th and 4th millennium, people move from these tell sites out on the outskirts of these tell sites, at least in Southeastern Europe, and in the Aegean area, people tend to move into caves. And this is one of the caves that we actually excavated in. This is all where it began for me. That was the Tankosić cave, and also together with Fanis and Søren, we excavated this. So what we're seeing is that they're moving from these larger tell sites, in inland sites, and then to the coastal area into caves. And then afterwards, during the beginning of the Bronze Age, and also in the end of this phase, the later Neolithic stages, so from middle of the 4th millennium, they move to these plateaus on the coast, and this is Tankosić in Anatolia. So we have a situation where they're living in the caves, and then they're moving into these plateaus. So we're seeing a whole range of topographically settings which changes during this transition. And that's also what makes it interesting, these huge changes in the settlement patterns. So what causes this? What's the background of this? Why do they do it? The big why, I've called it. So we see the transition. Why is this transition so important? Well, it's because it's the cradle of our civilization. It's a mirror going back to, if you take our civilization, then you can mirror it back to this transition, because this is actually where it begins to us. So all the problems we have with overpolluting, too much energy, all this kind of stuff, it begins here. And what we see is actually communities changing from smaller sites to larger urbanism, and thus the background of civilization. And the way people organized is getting different. They're going from egalitarian to more hierarchically societies, build-up societies. That's what changes here. And we can see how the societies and the individuals interact with each other. That's also what's changing here. And you can call it like a proto-capitalism, which evolves and emerges here, because we see a control of resources, which we haven't seen before, with different kind of raw materials. They're sitting on these raw materials, they're trying to control them, and thus somebody's getting control of this. They can control it, they can get the surplus of trading these objects, and that's what's happening in this transition with gold, silver, copper, and other exotics. And the use of space in the landscape, because they're taking the landscape into consideration, where they're exploiting different kinds of landscape types, like the caves, going out to the coast, and they are using these in order to create a surplus. So we're really seeing the backbone of civilization coming around during this transition. Now, of course, you see changes in material culture. Some have argued that the adoption of metallurgical practices might be one of the drivers behind this, and also a more different and diversified economy emerges during this transition here. So these are some of the big whys why this is interesting for people to go deeper into. What's causing these changes here? Why do people suddenly do this? So when I read the book, I could see that there were 5 themes. I'm not going to go into the different authors because there's so many, so I can't go into all of them, but I'll go into the broader themes. Now, as far as I can see 5 themes. The one is about the chronology, how we date the different sites, and the cultural affinities situated in the different regions, and the synchronism of the problems that we can see in the different regions. So identifying all these overall phenomena is one of the themes in the book. And if you read it closely, this is one of the overall themes. The chronology is really important. The other thing that we can see is that people are focusing a lot on material culture, especially from production and technology, to more the circulation of objects and the consumption and use, and especially the meaning of these objects. So actually, as far as I can see, people are shifting the theoretical focus towards more towards mobility of these people, the network patterns, and the symbolic entanglement that you can associate with these objects, especially this symbolic meaning of behind these objects is a tendency that you can see in a lot of these papers. And why do we see that? Well, it's because it's a transition, it's a disruption happening of these societies, and that's why these symbolic entanglements are very important. And that's what I see in a lot of these papers. The other thing I see is that the changing of social structure and economy in the different regions and different themes is very typical. And of course, people are asking, when does this happen? How does it happen? Where does it happen? And you can see that in the different papers. But I would guess that the next step, with all this data compiled in this book, would be to compile it in some more synthesis matter, maybe using different kind of methods, phylogenetic, in order to see the different patterns. Because when we understand the patterns, then we can try to make a new narrative based on a more or new hypotheses can emerge. We can see these types, new questions emerge, and we can move forward. So it's a positive progression in order to address the problems within this transition. The other thing I see is the intra and inter-site space use. So there you go really down on the different kind of sites and how they use the landscape and the space within the site, but also on an overall regional pattern, the settlement patterns. And what I see is both a bottom-up approach, but also a top-down approach. And we need these different kind of scale in order to understand the complexity of this transition. So that's also very important, but in order to understand the complexity, we also need to see the different kind of patterns. That's very important. And the fifth theme I can see is we see a lot of new site reports and regional studies, so we see a lot of new data emerging as well as reinterpreting previous studies, so there's a positive progression. But the next step would be to compile some of these to see overall patterns. That would be the next step in order to elaborate over new questions, which can then result in new excavations and then a new data set. That would be the obvious progression. So, a lot of people are concentrating especially on material culture, and I just want to show you the immense diversity of the material culture within this transition, 5th millennium and 4th millennium in this area. And the different authors are going into the material culture, and here you see graphite painted pottery and production sites producing these beautiful pottery. You see them in really rich graves and burials from Varna as well. You see symbolic meaning of objects, these cult tablets. So the symbolic entanglement in this transition where people can be fear of different kind of changes. They need some new symbolic meaning of object, and that's what we see with these cult tablets, but also with the figurines coming up there. We see different kind of objects coming up, these conical marble wither, and you see them here. They're produced in Turkey, but then distributed all over the place. And here, there's one from Varna. It's red, and I suspect that might be cinder. So it's not only hard objects; it could also be pigments being explored and being exchanged at this time. And we see also the pottery going from fine ware in the Divini phase, the early, the Little Neolithic, and then to this final Neolithic or later Neolithic state. We see more coarse pottery, but at the same time we also see pottery of cheese pots. So it's also a different kind of economy coming in there. We see pressure plate technology, especially of the obsidian, and we see that the obsidian is going from where they're primarily getting the obsidian from the Milos Islands, and but when you get up into the later part of the Neolithic, almost into the early Bronze Age, it seems as if the shift is changing towards more control of some of these sources, especially the obsidian, where they're going, you know, there's two sources on Milos, there's Adamas and Demanagaki, and you're going from an equal free access to the Milos because nobody's living on Milos, and then doing the final Neolithic, people begin to stay there and taking control of it, and that's also when you see a shift towards primarily using one of the sources and not both of them, and that's probably Adamas. And then you see tank points. I mean, they're starting to, they're going from primarily domesticated animals to also hunting wild animals. So the hunting business, is there anything situated, the symbolic entanglement of hunting? Could that be like a hierarchical status kind of marker that you go and hunt different kind of animals? That might be some of this symbolic meaning which is definitely changing in this transition. And then we have different kind of other types, honey flint. You see exploited there, it's the same as the obsidian, also being distributed in a wide area. And the spondylus beads, also all the way into Central Europe, perhaps into France. So a huge network that are part of these societies. You see emergence of metallic, different kind of symbolic objects like the dagger, going from the axes to the actual daggers, or battle axes to daggers. So there's a definite change there. You see jewelry, both of gold and silver. You see jadeite axes coming in, all the way from Italy. So you have jade in Italy, which has been distributed in a huge system, and you see bulk of these axes in the Varna burials, but also in the Aegean you see jadeite axes of Italian origin in the Aegean. So a huge network system, so that they're really part of that. You also see high quality of nephrite, almost gem-like, also in this phase here. You also see local exploitation of jadeite. So, I mean, what we see here, a huge kind of network of different level, and they give, of course, different kind of pictures of the mobility of the people and the society behind. But most of this is actually belonging to the 5th millennium. The problem is that we have the 4th millennium, and there we don't have a lot of sites. And that's what Søren was referring to as the lost millennium. And we'll see it here. Because I have access to, I'm collecting data, I'm a data collector, and I'm collecting data, so I collect a lot of C40 dates. So I've collected around 5,500 dates just to see and to document for you the paradox of the lost millennium. Because most of the updates, most of the things in the book is actually 5th millennium, the 4th millennium, we almost have nothing. So here you see the sum of C40 dates of different regions in the studied area. So here we have the sum date of Greece, 2,200, the sum of Bulgaria around 600, Romania around 390, Turkey 1,576 data, and Hungary around 680 data. So what are we seeing here? Well, we're seeing here we have a concentration of data. That's the tell sites that I was talking about. That's where people are living at primarily the cell site, and then they abandon the tell site, go into the caves, and what do we see? An almost wide hiatus of almost nothing. And we see that over a huge area. So what's going on there? I mean, this transition apparently has some meaning of people. So it seems as if we argue that the activity of C40 days also is a reference to the amount of people, then the demography suddenly changed here. Or the activity is changed. Or we are not seeing the whole picture. It's a taxonomic question. We're not seeing it. We don't know. But we can definitely see that it's a situation that goes on for around a millennia or maybe more. And then we see an increase again. in the data. So this is a lost millennium. So there's a paradox here. There's a transition towards the grand civilization, but there's almost no people. There's almost no activity. There's almost no sites. How do we explain that? That's an intriguing question. It's actually one of the drivers of this. That's one of the main drivers of why this is such an interesting topic. So we can see it on the site level as well. Here you see methodicity, you see the till sites, and they're massive, a lot of them, and then when you get to the final with it, they become more scattered. So it is an activity going on, maybe with less people. Obviously, when you're talking about this, one would say, well, it's likely some sort of climate change maybe that's going on. We'll come to that later, because Parkinson had this survey from Peloponnesus primarily. And here you can see the area in the survey, the number of early and middle Neolithic sites, not many, and the late and final Neolithic site, there's also not many. And that's actually covering several thousand years actually. So it's not a lot. And then we see the early Atlantic, a lot of things going on. So again, we really see a lack of science. Now, I've also collected the data from Faculelis, from the book, because the quality of the data can give you some new knowledge. And Faculelis, he actually took a lot of the data that we have from this transition, and then I put it in this plot. And there you can see differences to this plot that I had before. So the quality of the data can give you some more insights in what's going on. There you can see more peaks than in the data set that I have. So the quality of the data is really important, and that you can see with the Faculelis. So you can see that actually from 4,000 you can see small peaks going on there. So there are activities in Faculelis. You can't see that in the big data set that I have. So the quality of the data is really important. So what do we see? Well, here I've marked plateaus in the C14 dates. So you can see here the big peak, that's actually a plateau in the C14 dates. So when we have the peak, we think, oh, there's huge activities. No, it's a plateau. It's genius. And you can see it as well, another plateau, that's not genius. But this one, exactly the same. The plateau is there. So when we think there's a lot of activity, it is. What I also plotted here is the next step to move forward to understand this stuff, I think. And this is actually stalagmitites. So things in caves goes down, and you can do analysis of it, and you can find out if you have a dry or wet climate. And here you have the wet climate. This is from stalagmitites in southern Germany. So it's a far-fetched comparison, but it was the only one I could find because nobody's done it in the Aegean, but they should, because then they can compare it with the data. So here you have, at least in southern Germany, a climate that's pretty wet. And then from this one, here and out here, it becomes very dry. And here you have a real low of the dry. So, let's see. Here, when you actually see the dates of where it goes down from a wet to a dry climate, you actually don't see any changes in degrees. But there might be an effect of what do you call it? A delayed effect in the Aegean area. That might be the case compared to the southern German stalagmites. So you need to compare it with the Aegean stuff. Anyway, if you see at the next level, the one where it really goes down, where the climate goes from wet to really, really dry, you see a lowerage of the activities. So there might be something to do with the climate change, going from a wet to a dry climate. And that might be the cause of all these changes. And when you see it going up again, if you just go back, you can see there's a small peak going up. It's not much, but you see there's a peak there of a more wet climate. And that's actually also when almost the earlier one of the early frontiers begins, where you can see it's not much. And that might be something to do with the bias of people not dating enough sites. Because if you should compare this, you should do several dates from sites. And if you're not doing that, you're instead dating it by pottery, then you get a biased diagram, of course. So more dating, more systematic dating, then you can say something and compare it with the climate data. And then these stegmatize. And there's a lot of this stuff in we, so you just do it. So this is one situation. It might be different from region to region. And here I've showed the sum of dates in Egypt. And if you see here, you can actually see, well, not much going on. And then you should expect around 4,000 that it went down, like we've seen in the other diagrams, but it actually goes up. So in Egypt, it doesn't seem as if it has an effect here. Whereas in Iran, you can see, well, there's not much going on, but at least from 4,000, it just goes down. So either there's bias in these data, or it might be different. The climate change going from wet to dry might be different in the different regions, and that's explaining these differences. But of course, you have to look at the climate data to see if you can correlate them. Yeah, here you see the 4,000 where it goes down and up in different places. So, what happens? There's three scenarios, and they might be catch-22 or connected to each other, but climate is definitely one of them. That's a lot of the papers discussing these countries. Another one is the economic or social change or combination of all factors. So when you look at the climate change, we see in this period when it goes really down with the sites of dry climate, possibly less precipitation, but we need more studies, more dates of these sites, and we need to combine it with pollen analysis and new studies of stalactites, and then correlate the data. Then we might be able to say some more. And then, of course, we have to compare it with all these changes of material culture and settlement patterns. But then we can go on a local level, and it seems, if we go deep enough in our data. Now, the climate change might also have something to do with the economy, because we also see economic change, and that's primarily the second apparent evolution or revolution, you could call it. And that's Andrew Short's hypothesis. So you get the plow, the wheel, the wagon, the pastoralism, and you go from meat and iron and bone to milk, wool, and traction. And you can see that with the cheese spots that still in the world and stuff like that. So it changed economy. But if that might have something to do with climate, I mean, that's the catch-22. And together with that, of course, you see the social complexity, and it might be different speed in different regions. And that's why the chronology factor is so important, that people go in and really make detailed dating of these regional studies there. So, the social complexity, of course, we see the social change, possibly towards more warrior symbols like the dagger, the marking of territories. We go from free access to more control of raw materials. We go from caves to more fortified, easy, defendable sites. And you go from communality to a more individualization of the society. And then, of course, you see the colonization of areas which wasn't inhabited before. And this is what you see, and these are some of the hypotheses that have been discussed in the book. And they might be connected and possibly connected, yeah. So, one of the big questions that's been discussed is the Proto-Indo-Europeans. So what we're seeing in this transition is that the Proto-Indo-Europeans coming into the Aegean. So they're doing a different kind of economy, possibly because of different kind of climate change. They're using secondary products, like going from meat to milk, stuff like that, and creating a surplus in the way that they're doing the economy, which then creates a kind of mobility and migration, and that might be the driver of the things that we see in this region, or different kind of regions, with a new kind of technology coming in, a new kind of network, and thus creating a new kind of life when they get settled in the different regions. And in the barrier, you can see the unification of that, and different languages, of course, and we go to the different homogenization of the culture, so to say. Is that what we're seeing? Is that the situation? There's also been, if it's a Proto-European coming into this area in question, then one of the hypotheses that has been put forward is that the reason why the population goes down is because that these people bring with them a lot of new kind of diseases like the plague. But you can see here the date, it doesn't fit to the 5th and 4th millennium. But maybe new studies of early Hellenic or final Neolithic skeletons in the Aegean might turn that around, if it's possible to see any diseases like the plague going that far back. We don't know, but maybe the future will bring something to light in that manner, and might explain that it's not a climate change, it could be a cultural one with diseases. The problem is now that the date doesn't fit. The other thing that we can see is, of course, the Indo-European language coming in. We know that Greek is part of the European languages, and normally the argument is that it's from this step that these Indo-Europeans or Proto-Europeans are coming, and then moving forward, possibly through Anatolia into the Aegean, or all the way up to Central Europe. But the problem is that these changes and transitions in the 4th and 5th millennium doesn't have necessarily anything to do with these Indo-Europeans. It doesn't have anything to do with each other, because the chronology doesn't seem to fit. The Greek could be a later migration of different kind of people coming in, so it doesn't have to be something to do with the 5th or 4th millennium. Like the Minoran, that's not an Indo-European language, so there's definitely something going on there. Then we can turn to the DNA and see, can we see anything there in the DNA? And if you look at the modern DNA, you can see that the Greek are mostly Anatolian DNA, that's the yellowish here. And then you have the Western European hunter-gatherers, that's also part of it. And then you have these Yamnaya steppe things. So you do have Yamnaya steppe in the Greek, but that might come later. The problem is that we don't have any DNA analysis of the 5th and 4th millennium of the Aegean or southeastern Europe, not that much anyway. Or at least the Aegean, we don't have anything of that kind. So we don't know yet. But they are currently being processed they're currently being made in Copenhagen. I hope they will take some samples from the 5th and 4th millennium as well. And then we'll see. But for now, it doesn't seem as if the Proto-Indo-European is coming with this transition. The chronology simply doesn't fit. So, to some concluding remarks, this is an impressive overview. I mean, really congratulations for that. It's really impressive. Next step is to compiling these data and getting an overview and creating new theory and new hypotheses, so that we can go back to the material, ask new questions, and maybe exploit some new science as well. And it's presenting a lot of new results and ideas, of course. Some of them I've presented it. And it should be able, when you read it, to create new questions and new hypotheses. And need to bring the big data together. That's something that is evident and is possible for this great amount of stuff in the book. And a classic is born, I think. Everybody who wants to get into that, into this theme, has to buy that book. It has to be on the curriculum in every university, I think, because it's really, really important. And it's only like 70 euros, I think, very cheap. So I can only say congratulations to all the contributors, and especially to the editors, Fanis and Søren and Žarko and Turan. Great job!